I'm going to do another video on the Taurus PT111 Millennium G2 and 9mm because I kind of wanted to discuss this semi-wonky trigger, right? I think I might have mentioned something about it in my last video that did the unboxing. I have the two magazines that come with it, and they're loaded with the 9mm. It's not critical defense. This is just it's like the critical defense without the red plug, right? I just wanted to get it to differentiate my 9mm from my 380 that I use in my P238. And honestly speaking, it's a little bit harder to tell for me. I shot a 380 round out of here and it just expanded. Thank God I was using brass, but you know, it's easy. I mean, there's really not a lot of difference between the two. So, well, getting back to the point, on the Millennium G2, they have a single action, double action trigger, I guess, right? And the way it was explained to me is that initially when you rack the slide, right, it primes the pin, and the first trigger pull allegedly is single action, and then if you get like a misfire, then it reverts to double action. And honestly, I don't really understand exactly what all that means. It seemed like it made sense only from the aspect that, I mean, cutting through all the shit, especially with like how it functions, it seems like it's more a safety mechanism associated with the primer and not discharging or requiring me to expel the casing without, you know, first checking one or the other. I mean, I can always rack it and get rid of that cartridge if it doesn't ignite, right? But it was just like a safety mechanism. Now, I don't actually know that to be the case. I'm gonna have to do some more research and actually get back to you guys. But I do know this: when you're racking this, and I'll show you, this is the trigger pull. Now, no resistance all the way back to right there, right? And there is where it breaks. And then I set it again, and there, that's where it breaks. But as there's a lot more pressure all the way through. Now, let's see if I can rack it again with one hand. If I pull all the way back, you see, that's where it breaks. No resistance up until that breaking point. And then this is what a single action trigger would look like, where it's basically just tight all the way back. Now, my assumption is that that's probably what that mechanism looks like. It's not just a safety precaution with the firing pin, but I mean, it's definitely, if you're not racking this and you don't have it re-racked from the you know, percussion of the next round, right, or the one that you just fired rather, then it is a double action trigger pull, which is very tight all the way back until it breaks, right? And then the double action, because it you know, you rack it and pull the round into the chamber, and then fire it. It racks back. It resets the pin and everything, and the double action trigger is just a very light one. Now, again, if you see that, we're talking about, let me set that pin again. No resistance all the way back until there. Heavy resistance all the way back until there. Same breaking point, right? But the feel of the trigger is way different, and it threw me for a loop when I first shot this. And I can understand why some people might not want it, but my argument, at least, is that in a combat situation, you might need to be able to, I mean, if I could carry this, well, anyway I carry it, it's going to be racked and whatnot if I put a round in there. It doesn't have a decocker or anything like that, so it's very easy if I'm trying to unload the clip, if maybe I'm in a, you know, combat situation or whatever, just a very small pull of the trigger will result in you know, firing rounds, right? Whereas if you had all that entire follow through on the trigger, otherwise it probably just, I mean, it'd just be a bad trigger at that point. It's really tight all the way back until it breaks almost near the very, very back. And that throws me, and I imagine it throws other people as well. So I don't mind it so much with the way that it works with having a touchier trigger in the double action configuration, right? I think it makes it a lot easier in, if you're getting jittery, you want to make sure that when you're firing, you're using not that much motion, because in a combat situation where there's high adrenaline and everything, pulling your finger all the way back and then, pulling the trigger again, especially if there's resistance on it, might not even be possible. I mean, you could be fatigued from adrenaline or things like that, right? So overall, it just takes a little bit of getting used to. The first time I thought that I had a misfire, and then I just pulled it back a little bit further and it fired. So definitely something to consider before you buy this piece. It doesn't really bother me too much as long as I know that that's what's wrong with the trigger, or rather that's how the trigger functions. And after that, I can see some of the gains associated with having it for self-defense. But again, something that you'll just have to get used to.